Welcome back to the Don't Say That podcast. All right. So, disclaimers. We're going to talk about disclaimers. And of course, you're going to grab a copy of the book. And guess what? Greg hasn't seen it yet, but I'm going to send it to him. But someone on my team today, Greg, got a sneak peek. They snuck into my Asana somehow and saw the outline of the next book, What You Can Say. And they were compelled to message me and say, this SHIT is fire. And so I was excited to see that. They really liked it. They said this is my takeaway from this book as I'm writing it, because I've written like the first 25% of it now, it's almost a philosophical book. Like anyone who reads it is going to walk away questioning marketing and what you believe and understand and know about marketing. It's pretty cool. It's going to make you really rethink how you approach marketing and your customers. And I think I get to the bottom of what it is exactly that the FTC and all the regulators are trying to get to. And dare I say, this hurts me to say this, I think I agree with them on many things. I can't believe I am agreeing with them. All right, so
with me on it. Come
so
over.
Listen, if you're watching, everybody, Compliance Summit. It's becoming real. We're at the final negotiations with the hotel. I will not reveal where it is. It is in the D.C. area. In the end, I felt like that made sense because, FTC, law, D.C. area.
Onik wanted me to follow, not him. Let's be honest. It's okay.
Hey, to be fair, Greg, go back in your email and check the emails from Olga. We were waiting on you, and then we moved on. We wanted to do it in Utah, but it's one of my favorite hotels. Here, I'll leak out a little clue. It's where I got married, and so it's one of my favorites. I've done many events there, and the dates are going to be September 9th to the 11th. Mark your dang calendars. It's going to be fun. Yes, that's right. I say we're going to make compliance fun.
September 11th. I thought it's like 9/11 compliance summit. Okay.
I know. 911 urgent. If I can't get your attention anymore, then So Compliance Summit's going to be happening. Make sure you get excited, get pumped about that. We'll be declaring it here very soon. By the time this episode comes out, maybe we've already declared it. The next book is coming out, and we have a testimonial program coming out to teach you how to do testimonials, and lots of cool stuff happening. So with that said, let's talk about disclaimers, disclosures. There is such a weird myth out there, understanding. Marketers feel like they can say whatever they want, right? Like we can have a testimonial with the big number and like I made the $52,000, blah, 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 and then just have results are not typical, blah, 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 blah. And I've had people tell me, Greg, many times, I'm good. I got all my disclaimers set correctly. And I'm like, the irony with disclaimers, though, after I met with you, is I remember asking him, like, well, what the hell's the point then? Right? Because you were like, that doesn't save you. It doesn't help. So take it away, Greg. What was the answer you gave me about these disclaimers?
Well, we're seeing it a lot. It's like Mythbusters, right? Like, oh my gosh, if I go ahead and I can say whatever I want, like, here's a client that made $22,000 in 2 days. I'm going to throw this disclosure up and use it as an example, and I'm good to go. But that's no. That's not what it is. So we go back to the good old year of 2009, when the FTC entered into the testimonial endorsement guidelines initially, and they've amended them through the years in 2011, 2014, etc. The idea behind that was to stop exactly what's happening now, which is to set a tone and standard in which you should use testimonials. So much that in October of last year, the FTC came out and talked again about claims and testimonials, but they're enforcing it even more because there is too much out there where they just go ahead and say whatever they want. They add a little disclosure that says earnings may vary, results are different, or whatever it is, right? And that's not sufficient. There are 4 elements we talk about with using stories or testimonials or substantiation or claims, and you have to meet those. And if you don't meet those, then you're using them improperly. So those 4, again, we'll go through again. Number 1, have a release from the client. Make sure that you have their authorization to use it. It's an NIL, right? Name, image, likeness release, so you can use their stuff, right? Number 1. Number 2, make sure that you have substantiation or documentation to prove what they're saying is true. So if you go on, you grab somebody's statement off of Trustpilot or a DM that they've sent you on Facebook, and you decide to put that on your forward-facing, client-facing advertisements, and you don't have the documentation to show that that actually worked, you're in trouble. Now, what is substantiation? Is it a screenshot of their back-end office? No, that's not sufficient. Why? Because I've had cases where we've given that, and the FTC says not sufficient under our substantiation doctrine. What is sufficient is to show the actual progression of the transaction. If it's an e-commerce transaction that you say they sold X number of widgets, then it's showing the purchase of the inventory, so the sell of the inventory, and the deposit of the check or the payment or statement from Amazon showing the money went from Amazon into your personal bank account. All of that together, collection, documentation. Not miss any element of that, it's not substantiated. So number 2, substantiation, but the number 3 is the hardest one, typicality. If I use an example of somebody made $22,000 in 2 weeks, but that's the only person that's ever done that, how can you say that's a typical experience? Now you may say, well, in the disclosure, we say this isn't representative of typical experience, but here's the problem. We have this thing under Section 5 of the FTC Act that talks about the net impression. And when you use it, if you use a testimonial in your advertising and it shows a statement that somebody made $22,000 in 2 weeks, what does the average person think that most of your clients are doing? You're creating the typicality expression in front of them, even with a disclosure says may not be typical. So I always tell clients, don't use something that is atypical. If you use something that's an outlier, then you're just stepping into, hey, FTC, come and look at my other stuff too. Instead, use things that are prototypical. And even small examples are a good example versus a big example that you don't have substantiation, it's not typical. I mean, if you're selling something on Shopify and you're training people how to sell on Shopify, and you show them, hey, here's Bill, never sold anything before, sold his first $7 product within 2 days of finishing our course. Okay, well, Greg, that's only one $7 product 2 days after. What's good at that? Because it's credible and it's typical and it looks right. Then the fourth element, if you meet all 3 previous, these are and, not or, then use the disclosure. And it has to be a proper disclosure that you can see while you're hearing, seeing, watching the advertisement. Now, if you just go ahead and you say, I got this really cool story, this guy made $22,000 in 2 weeks, and I'm going to use it in my webinar, in my YouTube video, or whatever, and I throw it in there, even with the disclosure, not sufficient. Look at the Automators LLC case. Add a disclosure on their hypothetical was not as sufficient. In fact, that was the tagline of the section of the complaint, ineffective use of disclosures. So you have to use them effectively and you have to follow all the rules. You can't just cherry pick which rule to do. So Mythbuster number 1 today, can't just throw on a disclosure. You have to follow the rules completely.
Yeah. And I think this is the part where people just have to accept and understand that if you are going to use results-based marketing, you just have to jump through a lot of hoops. And most people either can't or won't jump through those hoops. And so then the marketers make the automatic assumption that, well, if I can't say these things, I'm not going to convert. And I'm here to tell you something. This is literally a big part of the book that we're writing. You're half right and half wrong. And let me explain to all of you who are saying, hey, how do I convert without showing these like big results and all of that? Well, number 1 is there are 2 types of customers, okay? So there is the results-driven customer and the journey-driven customer. And I'll tell you right now what basically the FTC forced me to do through the thing, and what I forced myself to do was transition my customer base from a results-based customer to a journey-based customer. So now I'm looking to sell to people that have selected this path, that are interested in it beyond just the money that it can make them, but the skill, the talent, the ability to do it. They're intrigued by all of those things, right? So for example, I'm really into AI right now. I'm learning everything AI and I love it. I'm not doing it because someone told me AI can make me $1 million a year. I'm doing it because I want to learn AI and I want to use it to impact my business in 13 different ways. And so I'm learning about AI, right? I'm a great customer. I'm buying up all the AI software. I'm buying AI courses. I'm attending an AI event. Like, I'm your right customer versus the person who says AI can make you $1 million a year. May very well can, but you want the customer who's like, tell me more, tell me how, tell me the skill, let me understand how that happens. Now, there's a problem with that customer. That customer is probably a little bit more knowledgeable. They're probably a little bit more like what I call upmarket, right? They're a little bit more accredited, and they probably are a bit more professional. They're not in a vulnerable state in their life. And so guess what they do? They make educated decisions. They don't make rapid, impulse-driven, crazy decisions. They like to get to know a brand. They think about the brand. They see what you offer. But they don't like to be sold to. They love to buy, but they don't need to be sold to. They don't like to be pitched hard. So all of the stuff that you're currently doing with these testimonials and all, it's actually deterring that customer away. Greg and I have talked about it before. We won't buy that product because we see that marketing and it just doesn't feel right to us, right? So the good customers, you've been deterring them away this whole time. You've been actually turning them away. So albeit you're seeing high conversion, but you're seeing high conversion to the results-based customer, which is the wrong customer. They're the refunders, they're the complainers, they're the ones that churn out, they don't buy other things, they're in a vulnerable place, they probably don't have money anyways, and you're honestly just hurting them, and that's where the FTC shows up, because their entire mission is to basically protect the vulnerable. So now let's talk about the byproduct of the fact that this market, I still think you convert. When you turn your message around away from results driven, more towards what we're teaching, you start to attract that journey-based customer. Now the journey-based customer, the problem is they take time. They buy off of trust, not a hype. And trust, there's no way to hack trust. You can't make trust happen fast. Trust is literally a byproduct of time. Okay, exposure, the amount of times you're in front of somebody. So what I'm saying is your conversions are not going to go down. If you look at a 24-hour window, sure, I'll give it to you. Your conversions go down. Greg, I was having this conversation with a marketer. You know him, big marketer. Maybe he's already reached out to you and spoken to you about it, but he messaged me and he said, "Hey, I'm seeing a pretty strong decline in conversions since I've gone super compliant."
Oh,
and
yeah,
you know who I'm talking about?
yeah.
And I just said to this person, I said, well, let's really break that down, because you're a pretty big business, you're spending a lot, and your first offering to anybody, right? And something that this particular person is very proud of is that, hey, I don't mess around with the low tickets, I don't mess around with that stuff. I go straight to the to the person who's willing. I said, how many people in today's day and age are willing to just go from not knowing who the hell you are to within 24 hours cutting you a $10, $15, $20, $30, $40,000 check?
Right.
I wouldn't. I've got money. Greg's got money. I wouldn't do it. I literally wouldn't do it. I had someone pitch me today for a $20,000 offer. I was like, yeah, it sounds good. I mean, this sounds like it makes sense. But by default, I said, hey, I'm out next week. I'm traveling. Let me get back. Let me think about it. That's just how we make decisions. And so what that individual needs to do is, I said, you got to change the timeline. So you've got to change in what timeline you're expecting those conversions to come in, and you've got to change your funnel to gain trust. So in this particular person's situation, what I teach with the expert model and the ascension model is how you get there. People ask me, how are my conversions still so high? Because my products that are going to cold market through ads are like $97 or lower. So someone comes to that page, they don't need to think a lot. They don't need to see the hype. They don't need to see all the craziness. They're like, whatever, I'll buy it, right? Then they get in there and they're like, wow, this is amazing stuff. Now all of a sudden they love me, trust me, know the quality of my content. Guess what? When I want to pitch them something for $1,500 or $2,000, they couldn't care less about all that nonsense. So you've walked away from that. So going on a bit of a monologue here, but I get this so much, and I want to get this message out to people that conversions don't go down. You got to change how you think. You got to change how you market. That's why I said the book that we're writing next, I literally think it's like a philosophical book. It's going to make you question what you know about marketing and how you approach marketing, but for the better. So anyways, there's no way to disclaim your way out of something that's non-compliant. I think, Greg, you said it best once. You said you can't make something compliant that's non-compliant with a disclaimer. Like you
can't disclose an earnings claim. The problem is, if you make a guarantee of a return on investment, or if you do this, you should expect this. No disclosure in the world is sufficient. It's just not. Just not.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep this one short because I got to go. I'm filming this right before I'm leaving for Funnel Hacking Live. If you are there and you see this episode before that, which you might not, come see me. Come say hi. And other than that, we'll be back. And Greg, thanks as always. And I know you're super busy right now, so all the best. I know you've got clients pouring in and lots of activity happening. I'll just ask you this, Greg: is the FTC quiet now that now that Trump's come in? Have they just gone quiet, or are they still pretty active behind the scenes?
I've got a lot. I'm constantly in contact with him right now.
Yeah, there. I like his answer. I'm constantly in contact with them. That should tell you they're very active.
Yeah, that should tell you everything right there.
Yeah, that should tell you everything. Everyone, if you're watching, they're not quiet. They're just working on really big cases, and those take a little bit of time. You're going to see them soon. All right, everyone. As we always say, if you want to be a giant, go compliant. When life pushes you, stand straight, smile, push it the heck back. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, everyone. Bye.